works.
Let's switch gears. Let's get into the issues, since you didn't discuss them there about the platform. And I will say, at the Rotary address, you did point some fingers. You pointed fingers to Republicans, Democrats, and independents who are the problem in this quote-unquote broken capital that we have.
Anyone who's been involved in the out-of-control spending, the increased taxing, and the earmark pork barrel spending that we've seen in Washington in the last 12 years, anybody who's been involved in that is to blame for where we are today. Everyone has to be held accountable.
You said Paul Hodes is a do-nothing representative in a do-nothing Congress.
Right.
Those are fighting words out of the box.
Listen, we have to take this seriously. This is a big deal. Congress enjoyed, perhaps not enjoyed, its lowest approval rating ever in the history of our country last year. 13% at one point approval rating in Congress. It has become so gridlocked, so backlogged because of partisan infighting that they are not accomplishing the work of the people. They're not getting done what needs to be done. They're going home on vacation, leaving important work unfinished on the table.
Are you including Paul Hodes in that synopsis?
Absolutely, I'm including Paul Hodes in that
because
synopsis.
when you look at some of the messages he's sending out via the media, Hodes meets with New Hampshire service members in Iraq. Hodes works to save jobs at Gorham Mill. Hodes hosts conference to aid community stakeholders. Hodes champions vet benefits and heating fuel for needy. It sounds like he's doing some stuff.
Well, it's an election year, Carolyn. Did you go back and check the same headlines for last year? I have to say it's interesting to see the timing of a lot of the actions that Mr. Hodes is taking now. Directly following, we know there was a directive from Speaker of the House, Pelosi, for the incumbents to get out into their communities and get their faces known. And suddenly, that's what we see. It's not a huge surprise because we've watched Paul Hodes follow the party lead from the beginning, since his first day in Washington. He has voted with the party, for the party, before the people at home, ever since he took office.
But what if you're running on a very strict Republican platform yourself, pro-family, pro-Second Amendment, pro-strong defense, why would you not be voting strictly party platform?
Let me say that I don't think I am running on a strict Republican platform. I think I'm running on a platform or on ideas and issues that are good for everyone. Every time we speak, no matter who our audience is, we are talking to Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. We're talking about things that we think are going to make America stronger and New Hampshire more stable. We're talking about lower taxes. We're talking about cutting pork barrel projects. You know, we're talking about prioritizing spending. We're talking about things that are good for everybody. I'm not concerned, quite honestly, about Republican endorsements versus any other type of endorsement.
Well, you have gotten a lot of endorsements.
I have gotten some nice endorsements, and I do appreciate that, but I want to be very clear. When we go out and talk, I want the endorsement of my neighbors, of the people in the community. I want the endorsement of the voters who are going to show up in November and say, this is the woman that we believe is going to go to Washington and fight for our best interests.
New Hampshire Rep. Dan Dumaine, I look for, quote, I look for a person who will totally and completely stand on the Republican platform with absolutely no reservations whatsoever.
And I do. Oh, no, I do stand on the Republican platform without reservation. But I think that the issues that we're talking about help everybody. I think one of the and I appreciate Representative Dumaine's endorsement as well, but I think that one of the worst things that we have seen happen in Washington in the last 12 months especially, but certainly in the last couple of years, is that our representatives have become so partisan that they are more concerned about pushing the party platform rather than accomplishing the work of the people. Collaboration goes a long way, and we know that. Carolyn, you know that because I know the things you're involved with in the community. We know that we bring people, when there's a need or a challenge in our community, people from all walks of life, from all political parties, from all economic and social backgrounds, they come together to the same table and they solve problems.
I was going to say, let's talk about that independent vote, because it's no secret that it is the largest bloc in the state. And the last election proved out that many of them, obviously most of them, took the Democratic stand because they won in the House, they won in the Senate, they won in the Executive Committee, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It was a good year for Democrats, sure.
So if you are, are you truly reaching out to that independent vote? Because if we were to label you, people would say, she's to the right of Bob Clegg, maybe to the left of
Really, to the right of Bob Clegg? I don't know. I don't know about that. I would say that I'm a conservative, no question about it, and certainly I'm right of center, but I'm not just reaching out to the independents. I'm reaching out to Democrats, independents, people who have never voted before. I'm reaching out to people who care about New Hampshire, who care about the United States of America. I believe that it is time for us to come together, all of us. I think that our government works best when both parties, when multiple ideologies are represented at the table.
It sounds like you're leaning heavily towards term limits.
Boy,
self-induced.
It comes up. Well, certainly for me it would be self-induced. It does come up every time I talk, and it seems to be because I talk about the fact that our founding fathers never intended that there would be a creature in the world called a career politician, that there would be people in the House of Representatives who serve for 15, 25, 36 years.
You have said that Bob Clegg, for example, is a career politician.
Yes.
And he says in return, come on, lady, $100 a year.
He may not be a well-paid career politician, but he's certainly a career politician. Mr. Clegg has been in politics in New Hampshire for 14, 20 years, depending on how you count it. He's been involved in politics for, as long as most of us can remember.
I'm going to put you on the spot. If you were voting in the Senate in the last week, there were several bills put forth. Number one, the unfunded mandates with kindergarten. Would you fund to construct 100% of the state to build kindergartens? That's what's at question.
No, I wouldn't fund that. Not 100%. I would not. I want to make it clear. I'm not familiar with that legislation, so I want to be careful that I don't, overstate
Yes, I understand.
Anything. But in general, when we start talking about education, I think that we are taking too much control away from local communities when it comes to education. Here in New Hampshire, we have a strong tradition of, local influence in our education, in our schools, and I do hate to see us lose too much of that.